Grand Admiral Zorax leaned forward, his four blue-tinged hands splayed across the holographic war map. His primary eyes narrowed while his secondary pair scanned the room, studying the faces of the 19 most powerful military leaders in the Galactic Confederation. "The Vraxian fleet advances through the Cygnus Arm," he announced, his voice a low rumble that carried the weight of impending doom. "Their warships have already conquered 3 of our outpost worlds. Billions dead. Not a pretty picture, folks." Commander Peltora snorted, her gill flaps fluttering with irritation. "You have such a talent for understatement, Admiral. The Vraxians aren't just advancing. They are obliterating everything in their path." "Thank you for that clarification, Commander," Zorax replied, his mandibles clicking in what passed for a sarcastic smile among the Thraxi species. "I was worried no one would grasp the severity of our situation without your eloquent elaboration." The War Council chamber hummed with nervous energy. The curved walls displayed real-time battle footage from the front lines, massive Vraxian dreadnoughts tearing through Confederation defenses like they were made of paper. The once mighty Galactic Confederation, spanning 27 species across 12,000 worlds, now faced extinction at the hands of the silicon-based Vraxian horde. General Koss, a towering Ursan with rust-colored fur and a cybernetic left arm, growled from the far end of the table. "We need a new strategy. Our conventional weapons barely scratch their hull plating. At this rate, they will reach the core worlds within 30 standard cycles." "Brilliant observation, General," said Zorax, not bothering to hide his frustration. "Perhaps next you will tell us that space is vast or that stars are hot." Fleet Commander Nyx, a lithe, reptilian Serpexi, tapped her claws impatiently against the table. "Instead of exchanging witty remarks, perhaps we could focus on actual solutions? The Vraxians have adapted to every weapon we have thrown at them. Their technological evolution rate is unprecedented." Zorax sighed, all 4 of his hands rubbing his temple ridges. "We have explored every option. Antimatter bombs? They absorb the energy. Gravitic distortion? They ride the waves. Quantum disruption? They phase shift. It's like they have studied every weapon in our arsenal and engineered countermeasures." "Because they have," said a quiet voice from the doorway. The entire council froze. Zorax's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession as he turned toward the source of the voice. Standing in the doorway was, no, it couldn't be. The creature was bipedal with pinkish tan skin, a tuft of dark hair atop its head, and only 2 arms and 2 eyes. It wore what appeared to be some kind of adaptive bodysuit, but carried no visible weapons. A collective gasp rippled through the room as recognition dawned on each council member. "Security breach." "Guards," shouted General Koss, his massive paw already reaching for his sidearm. "I wouldn't," said the creature, holding up empty hands. "Your guards are taking a little nap." "Don't worry, they are fine. I just needed a private audience." Zorax stood to his full height, nearly 3 meters tall, his blue skin darkening with shock. You are a human." "Last time I checked," the human replied with a casual shrug. "Name's Alex Reeves. Sorry for dropping in unannounced, but your receptionist wasn't very accommodating." Commander Peltora's gill flaps were fluttering so rapidly they created a small breeze. "Impossible. Humans were wiped out 2 centuries ago. The Great Purge eliminated your entire species." The human Alex laughed, actually laughed, as if extinction was some kind of joke. "Yeah, about that. Reports of our extinction were greatly exaggerated." Zorax found his voice, though it came out as more of a croak. "How?" "The historical records are clear. The combined fleet bombarded Earth until nothing remained but a molten core. Every human colony was methodically cleansed. There were no survivors." Alex strolled into the War Council room as if invited, pulling out an empty chair and sitting down, legs crossed casually. Every admiral, general, and commander tensed, but no one moved to stop this impossible visitor. "Look, I get it. You all think you killed us off. Gold star for effort, really. But humans are like those annoying rodents on your homeworld, Zorax. What do you call them? Trickets. Kill 99% of them. And the remaining 1% will be back to full population before you know it. We are resourceful like that. Fleet Commander Nix found her voice. But we searched. For decades. Our best trackers and hunters. Nothing was found. Did you check behind the couch? Things are always hiding behind the couch, Alex quipped, drawing confused stares. Sorry, human humor. You wouldn't understand. Zorax slowly lowered himself back into his chair, mind racing. If what you say is true, if humans still exist, why reveal yourself now? After 2 centuries of hiding? The human's face transformed, the casual smile vanishing, replaced by something cold and predatory. Because you are losing this war, Admiral. And as much as I enjoy watching the Confederation get its collective rear end handed to it after what you did to Earth, I enjoy existing even more. The Vraxians won't stop with you. They will consume everything. Strategic Officer Taz Lun, a Quarian with translucent skin that revealed his pulsing 3-chambered heart, leaned forward. Are you suggesting an alliance? With humans? Not an alliance, Alex corrected. Think of it more as pest control. You have a Vraxian infestation. We have the exterminator skills. General Koss slammed his cybernetic fist on the table. This is preposterous. We don't even know if this creature is truly human. It could be a Vraxian spy, a biological construct created to infiltrate our ranks. Alex rolled his eyes dramatically. Oh, please. If the Vraxians could create biological constructs that convincing, they wouldn't need their fancy battleships. They'd just replace all of you and call it a day. The human has a point, Commander Peltora admitted grudgingly. But Zorax studied the human carefully. All 4 of his eyes focused on this impossible creature who had somehow walked into the most secure facility in the Confederation. If, and this is a significant if you are what you claim to be, what exactly are you offering? Knowledge, Alex replied simply. The reason the Vraxians seem to counter your every move is because they are using human technology, or at least variations of it. A shocked silence fell over the room. Explain, Zorax demanded. After your little genocide attempt, the few surviving humans scattered to the far reaches of uncharted space. We rebuilt, adapted, evolved. About 70 years ago, a Vraxian scout ship encountered one of our outposts. Instead of attacking, they offered trade, technology for resources. You armed our enemies? Hissed Nix, scales flaring with anger. Alex shrugged. At the time, they weren't your enemies. They were just another alien race, and we needed allies. How were we supposed to know they'd turn around and use our tech to start gobbling up the galaxy? The Vraxians are like that kid who borrows your homework and then gets a better grade than you. Zorax's secondary eyes blinked in confusion while his primary pair remained fixed on the human. If what you say is true, why would you help us now? By your own admission, we attempted to exterminate your species. Water under the bridge, Alex said, waving a hand dismissively. But we destroyed your homeworld, Fleet Commander Nix pointed out, clearly not believing the human's casual attitude. Okay, so maybe it's a lot of water and a really big bridge, Alex conceded. Look, I'm not saying humans as a whole are thrilled about the Confederation. There was a pretty heated debate about whether to let you all get squashed. But the Vraxians have gone beyond what we anticipated. They have modified our technology in ways that concern us. The adaptive shields, the phase shift drives, those were defensive systems we developed to protect ourselves from you. The Vraxians turned them into weapons. General Koss growled, his fur standing on end. Convenient story. You expect us to believe humans would help the very civilization that tried to wipe them out? Oh, I don't expect you to believe anything, General Fluffy, Alex said with a smirk. But let me ask you this, how's your current strategy working out? From those lovely videos on your wall, I'd say not great. Zorax couldn't argue with that assessment. The Confederation was losing badly. Every engagement with the Vraxian fleet ended in devastating defeat, if the human was telling the truth. And the Vraxians were using modified human technology that would explain their seemingly uncanny ability to counter every Confederation tactic. "What exactly are you proposing?" Zorax asked, curiosity overriding his suspicion. "A human technical advisor. Me. I know how our tech works, which means I know its weaknesses. Every system has a flaw, Admiral, even the best ones." Strategic Officer Taz Lun's skin pulsed with rapid color changes, indicating intense thought. "If the Vraxians are using human technology, and you know its vulnerabilities, why haven't you exploited these weaknesses yourselves?" "We have been trying," Alex admitted. "But our fleet is limited. We don't have the numbers or resources for a full-scale war. You do. We provide the knowledge, you provide the ships and soldiers." The Commander Peltora's gill flaps fluttered skeptically. "And what do humans want in return? Revenge for the Great Purge?" Alex's expression darkened momentarily. "Don't tempt me, Commander. But no, what we want is recognition. Official acknowledgement that humans exist, that we are a sovereign species with rights to territory and representation in the galactic community." Out of the question, General Koss growled. "The political implications alone are less significant than total extinction," Zorax interrupted, surprising himself. He fixed all four eyes on the human. If what you say proves true, and your knowledge helps us defeat the Vraxians, the Confederation would be open to discussion regarding the status of humanity." Alex smiled, but there was something predatory in it. "I figured you'd see reason, Admiral. Self-preservation is a powerful motivator." "This is still highly irregular," Fleet Commander Nix objected. "We can't simply accept the word of a single individual claiming to represent a supposedly extinct species." "Fair point," Alex conceded. "But time isn't exactly on your side. While we debate, the Vraxians are glassing another one of your colonies. So how about a demonstration? A small-scale operation to prove I'm not just spinning tales?" Zorax considered this proposal. If the human was lying, they would lose nothing more than they already were. If telling the truth, it could change everything. "What did you have in mind?" Zorax asked. "The Vraxian advance fleet at Proxima Centauri. According to your battle displays, they are preparing to jump to the Arcturus system. Their flagship, the Dominion, coordinates all fleet movements. Take out that ship, and you will throw their entire advance into chaos." Strategic Officer Taz Lun's skin pulsed rapidly. "We have tried attacking the Dominion 3 times. Each attempt resulted in total loss of our forces. Because you were using conventional tactics against unconventional technology," Alex explained. "Their adaptive shields recalibrate to whatever energy signature you throw at them. But they have a refresh cycle, a microsecond delay between recalibrations. You hit them with two completely different weapon types, precisely timed, and you create a cascade failure." The council members exchanged glances. What the human described was tactically sound, if true. "I will authorize a strike force," Zorax decided. "A small one. If your strategy works, we can discuss further cooperation." "And if it doesn't?" asked Commander Peltora. "Then we are no worse off than we already are," Zorax replied grimly. Alex stood, clapping his hands together once. "Excellent. One Vraxian flagship, coming right up, or rather going right down. I will need access to your weapons systems to make some adjustments." General Koss growled again. "You expect us to give a human access to Confederation military technology?" "No, General," Alex replied with exaggerated patience. "I expect you to give a human access to Confederation military technology so I can show you how to blow up the bad guys who are currently kicking your tails across the galaxy. Unless you'd prefer to continue with your current approach of getting spectacularly defeated." Zorax raised a hand, silencing General Koss's retort. "The human will be granted limited access, under strict supervision. We depart for the Proxima Centauri system in 2 hours." As the council members filed out to prepare for the mission, Zorax held back, studying the human who stood examining the battle displays with apparent casual interest. "One question," Zorax said when they were alone. "If humans have been in hiding all this time, rebuilding and evolving as you claim, why haven't you taken revenge? The Confederation was vulnerable many times over the past 2 centuries. Alex turned, and for a brief moment, Zorax glimpsed something ancient and cold in those alien eyes. "Who says we haven't been?" the human replied softly. "The Threlgarians' mysterious plague 50 years ago? The Quarians' civil war? The collapse of the Ursan financial system? Humans may not have fancy battleships anymore, Admiral, but we have learned subtler ways to fight." A chill ran down Zorax's spine. Before he could respond, Alex's expression shifted back to casual friendliness. But that's ancient history now. We have bigger problems. Shall we go kill some Vraxians?" As Zorax followed the human out of the War Council chamber, he couldn't shake the disturbing thought that in their attempt to exterminate a perceived threat 2 centuries ago, the Confederation might have created something far more dangerous instead. And now, that creation held the key to their survival. The strike vessel Indomitable sliced through hyperspace, its quantum engines purring with newly adjusted frequencies. Grand Admiral Zorax stood on the bridge, watching as the human, Alex, moved between control stations with surprising familiarity, directing modifications to weapons systems that had the ship's engineers alternating between fascination and horror. "You can't bypass the safety protocols on a quantum torpedo," exclaimed Chief Engineer Vex, her luminescent tentacles writhing in agitation. "The feedback loop alone would create exactly the energy signature variance we need," Alex interrupted, not bothering to look up from the console. "Trust me, I have blown up more things than you have had hot meals." "That is not reassuring," Vex muttered. Commander Peltora, who had insisted on joining the mission despite Zorax's objections, watched the human with undisguised suspicion. "How do we know these modifications won't simply disable our own defenses? This could be an elaborate trap." Alex sighed dramatically. "Yes, Commander Gillface, I have orchestrated this entire scenario just to sabotage one medium-class cruiser. My centuries-long plan for revenge involves minor mechanical adjustments to a ship that's already outgunned 10-1 by the enemy." "You caught me." Zorax suppressed what might have been a chuckle. Despite everything, he found the human's irreverence oddly refreshing after centuries of rigid military protocol. "Status report," he demanded, redirecting the conversation. "Weapon modifications at 93% completion," reported Tactical Officer Jane, a Solaree whose crystalline exoskeleton glittered under the bridge lights. "Shields reconfigured as per the advisor's specifications." "The advisor has a name," Alex said cheerfully. "Though I suppose the human works too. Better than what your ancestors called us during the purge." "What was it again? Haverman? Plague?" So many unflattering options to choose from. An uncomfortable silence fell over the bridge. The Great Purge wasn't discussed in polite company, a shameful chapter in Confederation history when fear had overridden reason. Emerging from hyperspace in 30 seconds, announced the navigator, breaking the tension. Zorax moved to the command chair. "Battle stations. All personnel prepare for engagement." The Indomitable shuddered slightly as it tore back into normal space. The view screen adjusted immediately, revealing the massive Vraxian formation surrounding Proxima Centauri. 27 warships arranged in a defensive sphere around the flagship Dominion, a behemoth of twisted metal and pulsing energy fields that dwarfed everything around it. "That's considerably larger than our intelligence suggested," Zorax admitted, 4 eyes widening. "Scared?" Alex asked, coming to stand beside him. "You concerned," Zorax corrected. "The Dominion appears to have undergone significant upgrades since our last encounter." Alex studied the view screen, eyes narrowing. "They have incorporated more human tech. See those nodules along the hull? Quantum field generators. And those spiral structures? Phase shift amplifiers. Can your strategy still work?" Commander Peltora demanded. Yes, but with a modification, Alex replied, suddenly serious. The original plan called for a synchronized two-pronged attack. With those amplifiers, we will need 3 precisely timed strikes. Sequence them wrong, and boom, we are atomic confetti. 3 strikes? Tactical Officer Jane said, crystal exoskeleton clicking nervously. With 1 ship? 1 ship, 3 different weapon configurations, Alex explained. We will need to recalibrate between each volley faster than their systems can adapt. Zorax frowned. That's not possible. The recalibration process takes at least 7 seconds. The Vraxians would destroy us before the second volley. For your engineers, maybe, Alex replied with a grin. But you have got a human on board now. We specialize in doing impossible things on impossible timelines while making sarcastic comments. Before Zorax could respond, the bridge communications officer shouted, incoming transmission from the Vraxian flagship. On screen, Zorax ordered. The view screen shifted to display a Vraxian commander, a writhing mass of silicon-based tendrils surrounding a central crystalline core that pulsed with internal light. Confederation vessel, the Vraxian's artificial voice translator boomed. Your presence is futile. Surrender now and your deaths will be efficient. Such generous terms, Zorax replied dryly. But I think we will decline. The Vraxian commander's tendrils undulated in what might have been amusement. Your species persist in illogical behavior, despite inevitable outcomes. This is why organic life will always fail against superior. The commander stopped mid-sentence, its crystalline core pulsing rapidly as it focused on something behind Zorax. Is that a human? The Vraxian asked, synthetic voice modulation unable to hide its shock. Alex stepped forward with a casual wave. Hey there, Rocky. Long time no see. The Vraxian's tendrils whipped into a frenzy. Impossible. The human species was eradicated. Yeah, we get that a lot, Alex replied. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about all that technology we shared. There seems to have been a misunderstanding about the end-user license agreement. The Vraxian commander's core flashed brightly. End transmission. All vessels target the Confederation ship. Priority override capture the human specimen. The screen went dark. Well, that got their attention, Alex remarked. They seem quite interested in you specifically, Zorax observed, giving the human a suspicious look. Alex shrugged. What can I say? I'm popular at parties. Multiple vessels breaking formation, announced Tactical Officer Jane. Incoming weapons lock from 17 ships. Evasive maneuvers, Zorax commanded, to begin the attack sequence. The Indomitable lurched as its engines fired at full capacity, corkscrewing through space as energy beams and plasma torpedoes tracked its path. Alex rushed to the weapons console, pushing aside the startled weapons officer. Hey, this is a secured station, the officer protested. And I'm about to secure your continued existence, Alex retorted, fingers flying across the controls. First volley ready, target the flagship's port stabilizers, fire. A barrage of modified quantum torpedoes streaked from the Indomitable, their energy signatures fluctuating in patterns that made no sense to Zorax's trained eye. The Vraxian defensive screens adjusted immediately, the familiar glow of their adaptive shields brightening to intercept the attack. The torpedoes detonated against the shields harmlessly, it seemed. That did nothing. Commander Peltora exclaimed. Wrong? Alex replied, already reconfiguring the weapons systems with blinding speed. That did exactly what it was supposed to do. Their shields are now calibrated against quantum phase weaponry, which means they are vulnerable to second volley ready. Fire. This time, the Indomitable launched what appeared to be standard plasma cannons, ancient technology that hadn't been effective against Vraxian shields in decades. Yet somehow the blasts penetrated the defensive screen, striking the flagship's hull directly. Direct hit, cheered Tactical Officer Jane. Don't celebrate yet, Alex warned, hands still dancing across the console. Third volley is the key. Their system will try to adapt to both previous attack forms simultaneously, creating a microscopic vulnerability window, recalibrating almost there. The ship rocked violently as Vraxian return fire found its mark. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. Shields at 26%, shouted the defensive systems officer. One more direct hit, and we are finished. Then let's make sure they don't get another shot, Alex muttered, finalizing the weapon's configuration. Third volley ready, targeting their primary core, firing now. The Indomitable's weapons ports glowed with an eerie blue light as they discharged a beam that seemed to bend and twist through space, somehow striking the Vraxian flagship from multiple angles simultaneously. For a moment, nothing happened. The Dominion continued to advance, its weapons charging for what would surely be a killing blow against the Confederation vessel. Then, a small flicker of light appeared at the flagship's center, pulsing outward in concentric rings. "What's happening?" Zorax demanded. "Physics," Alex replied with a satisfied smile. "Specifically, a cascading quantum field collapse. The three attack signatures are creating an interference pattern inside their shield matrix. Think of it as three different musical notes combining to shatter a glass." The flickers of light spread rapidly across the Vraxian flagship, growing more intense with each pulse. Suddenly, the massive vessel seemed to fold inward on itself, as if being crushed by an invisible hand. Secondary explosions bloomed across its surface as systems failed catastrophically. "All vessels, maximum distance from the flagship," Alex shouted. "Now." Zorax didn't hesitate. Full reverse. Emergency thrust. The Indomitable's engines screamed in protest as the ship hurtled backward, away from the disintegrating Vraxian flagship. The remaining enemy vessels scattered in confusion, their coordinated attack dissolving into chaos. With a final, silent flash that temporarily overloaded the view screen, the Dominion imploded, leaving nothing but scattered debris where the massive warship had been. "By the 17 moons," whispered Commander Peltora, gill flaps completely still for perhaps the first time in her life. "You actually did it." The bridge erupted in cheers, but Zorax noticed that Alex wasn't celebrating. The human stood staring at the view screen, expression unreadable. "Something wrong?" Zorax asked quietly, moving to stand beside him. "That was too easy," Alex replied, voice equally low. "The Vraxians should have had countermeasures against this attack. We developed them together." Zorax's secondary eyes blinked in confusion. "You are troubled by our victory?" "I'm troubled by what it implies," Alex said. "Either the Vraxians aren't as advanced as we thought, or—" Before he could finish, Tactical Officer Jane called out, "Enemy vessels retreating. They are jumping to hyperspace." "Let them go," Zorax ordered. "Set course back to Confederation Command. We have much to report." As the Indomitable prepared to jump to hyperspace, Zorax noticed Alex checking something on his personal communication device, a thin, translucent band around his wrist that had somehow escaped security detection. "Sending a message?" Zorax asked casually. Alex quickly deactivated the device, just checking some calculations, making sure our little trick won't work only once. "Of course," Zorax replied, not believing him for a moment. Back at Confederation Command, the War Council reconvened with significantly altered dynamics. The once skeptical generals and admirals now looked at Alex with something approaching reverence. The destruction of the Vraxian flagship had sent shockwaves through both fleets. For the first time in years, the Confederation had achieved a decisive victory. "The strategic implications are substantial," Strategic Officer Taz Lun was saying, his transparent skin pulsing with excited colors. "With the proper modifications to our fleet, we could replicate this attack across all fronts." "Not exactly," Alex interjected. "The Vraxians aren't stupid. They will adapt their systems after analyzing what happened. Each engagement will require different configurations, different timing sequences, which means we need you for each battle," General Koss concluded, his earlier hostility replaced with grudging respect. "Or other humans who understand the technology," Alex suggested casually. The council chamber fell silent. Zorax leaned forward. Are you suggesting we bring more humans into Confederation space? I'm suggesting that one human can only be in one place at a time, Alex replied. If you want to win this war, you will need more than just me. Commander Peltora's gill flaps fluttered nervously. How many more? A technical advisor for each battle group, at minimum, Alex said. We'll call it 50 to start. General Kos growled softly. 50 humans with access to our military technology and battle plans? The security implications are less concerning than extinction, Zorax interrupted, echoing his earlier sentiment. We have seen what one human can do. Imagine what 50 could accomplish. The council broke into heated debate, with arguments for and against expanding human involvement flying across the table. Alex sat back, watching the chaos with an expression that Zorax found increasingly difficult to read. When the voices grew too loud, Zorax slammed all four hands on the table. Enough. The decision is made. We will accept human technical advisors under controlled conditions. The alternative is defeat. As the council members reluctantly nodded their agreement, Alex's communication band vibrated. This time Zorax was watching closely enough to see the message display briefly before Alex dismissed it. Phase 1 complete. Proceed to Phase 2. The council session ended with plans to integrate human advisors into key battle groups within days. As the members filed out, Zorax once again held Alex back. There's something you are not telling us, Zorax said when they were alone. Alex raised an eyebrow. There are lots of things I'm not telling you, Admiral. Just as there are lots of things you are not telling me. That's how these arrangements work. The Vraxians recognized you specifically, Zorax pressed. Not just as a human, but as an individual. Why? Alex hesitated, then sighed. I may have been more involved in the technology exchange than I initially implied. My family designed many of the systems the Vraxians are using. So this is personal for you, Zorax concluded. Everything about the last 2 centuries has been personal for humans, Alex replied, a hint of steel entering his voice. Your people tried to exterminate mine. The Vraxians betrayed our trust. Yes, Admiral, it's personal. Zorax studied the human with all 4 eyes. What happens when the Vraxians are defeated? What then? Alex smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then we negotiate the terms of humanity's return to galactic society, as equals this time, not as targets. And if the Confederation resists? Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Alex said, his tone light but his eyes cold. Humanity has learned patience, Admiral. 200 years of hiding, watching, infiltrating. We have had a lot of time to plan for contingencies. A chill ran down Zorax's spine as the implications sank in. The human advisors wouldn't just be bringing technical expertise, they'd be establishing a presence throughout the Confederation military structure. Positions of access and influence. This was never just about defeating the Vraxians, was it? Zorax asked quietly. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, Alex replied. Well, for now. But remember, Admiral, you made humanity your enemy first. We are just better at playing the long game than you expected. As Alex walked away, Zorax remained in the empty council chamber, contemplating the new reality. The Confederation had failed to exterminate humanity 2 centuries ago, and now found itself dependent on the very species it had tried to destroy. The irony wasn't lost on him. The Vraxians might be defeated with human help, but what then? Would humanity seek revenge for the Great Purge? Or had 2 centuries of survival against impossible odds taught them something the Confederation had never learned, that cooperation held more power than conquest?